While those jets are soaking in vinegar, I'm going to keep spraying carb cleaner in the holes that the jets were in and blowing air. I'm really not too worried about the bigger holes being clogged up. It's the little tiny ones that I'm more concerned with. I'm just going to blow dry it here. I don't even know where some of these go, but I'm going to clean them anyway. I like it when I see dark yellowish and brownish colored liquid coming back out. Then I know I'm getting somewhere. I may not know where I'm getting, but I'm getting somewhere. And I guess you know better than to blow these things over your table that you're working on, because you're going to blow your small pieces across the room and lose them. Never see them again. Having said that, you got to make sure there are no loose pieces on the main body that you're going to lose if you're blowing on it. I think this one is pretty much done, except for this float bowl and this that's got to be a drain. I don't know, is that a drain screw? I don't know what that is. That's where that tight screw was. I'm going to clean these up. These parts have not been soaking real long in the vinegar, but I'm pretty sure I did a good job cleaning them otherwise. So this one screw that was crusty and rusty, and I didn't know for sure what it went to, it's not important. I did soak it in vinegar a little bit, and I'll tell you why I use vinegar. The spray cleaner, whether it be brake cleaner or carb cleaner or whatever, is a solvent. Look, it's melting my screwdriver handle here. It's a solvent, and it'll melt petroleum-based stuff, but it doesn't do squat for corrosion like rust or aluminum rust, you know, the white stuff, or any calcium. If something is in water that it gets calcium on it, it doesn't. Vinegar works on that, but the this petroleum-based stuff doesn't. So that's why I use vinegar, because water gets in aluminum carburetors and or moisture, and it starts to corrode and leave that white powder. This will not clean it, but the vinegar will. That's why I soak this stuff in vinegar. And vinegar also has a tendency to kind of break through the surface of metal and kind of get you to a new, fresher start. If you soak a green coin that's been under a car seat for a few years, you soak that in vinegar for a while, you may not clean it immediately, but it'll come clean just soaking it that way. So that's why I do that. I'm going to go ahead and clean these off with some water and then air. Cleaning the float with vinegar works pretty good too. don't know if I said it or not, but this screw, this rusty screw, that was just a drain hole, which is kind of important on some applications if you can get to a drain screw, but that's not possible on this Goldwing, on this 1500. So I didn't even need to mess with that, because it's not possible to get at those to drain them out. Now some of my small engines have that. My fishing boat, it has drain plugs on them, and I do drain those out on those. Now we're ready to put this back in. Looks like this little needle did fall out of there. I'm just going to wipe the rubber tip on it, make sure it's clean, and these sides of this little thing here. And if you ever get confused as to which side is up or down, of course in this one it can't really confuse, because it's not going to go in this way, obviously. But I've had that issue before on carburetors where this was right in the center and I wasn't sure. I just had to look for a wear pattern on one side or the other of this little tang. By the way, that little tang is how you adjust your float level, so be careful not to disturb that, because we're going with whatever the settings were. Found enough reasons for the thing to run bad without messing with float levels. I'm just not the most coordinated person. Another thing, got to make sure you don't disturb the gasket on the float bowl. Oh, you can get all these parts, but boy, are they expensive. I mean, seriously expensive. Costs hundreds of dollars to get carburetor kits. There's got to be a good way to get them. I'm sure dealers don't have to pay that. I'm sure they can get what they want without paying what we have to pay. Well, this one's ready. I'm going to put the rubber thing back in there. I guess I'll leave the camera running and I'll just put that on right now. You just got to find this point right here. See some dust in there already. And then that pin just has to drop in that hole right in the center in there. Drop that in there. And then put this on here. And make sure this is fitting inside this all the way around. If it has shrunk and it's a little bit tight, well, that's okay. You can stretch it a little bit and it'll momentarily hold that position while you're putting it in. I'm going to have to borrow the cap from the other one because I got vinegar in this one. Just got to make sure that ridge is in that channel all the way around before you start putting this together. And then make sure that you get that little notch in there. Make sure that you got that where it's going to go on this. Just where it gets its air from. Get this spring centered in there. Just like that. Get at least one screw down but not tight. Now you can put the rest of them in. You don't have to hold on to it. But I don't remember where this one was. I gotta see if I can figure out where this one was, or just leave it out, put it in when I put it all back together. Oh, here it is. I see a wear pattern right here. Everything's kind of crusty except for right there. That has to be where it was. I'm going to show something I forgot to do on the other carburetor. I'm working on the second one. This is obviously an idle adjustment screw. Controls the air mixture, or possibly the fuel mixture. I'm not sure. I guess the fuel mixture. Anyway, I figured that out by spraying spray in there and seeing where it came out at. It's all back together, but I'm going to do it again. It's got a screwdriver slot. I lined myself up with the direction of the screwdriver slot, and I stood there and I counted my turns, tightening it up. It was 2.5. There's half, 1, half, 2.5. So I found I got 2.5 turns. So now I just take the thing out. It's got a spring in there. If the spring doesn't come out, you have to go get it out of there before you blow air in it. And I just now found out, because it didn't have this on it, this rubber washer is in there, this O-ring. I didn't know that was in there, because it didn't come out the first time. It did this time. So I sprayed fluid in the idle jet hole, the one that had this little guy here, the one that one came out of. I sprayed it in there, and it came out up here and out here, and it's clean now. But there's one piece I missed on the other carburetor, so I got to go in that one again and do this. Half, 1, half, 2.5. Found something else to clean. I saw it a while ago, but I forgot to show it, and I'm putting this thing back together. And it's these little brass tubes right here. There's a hole in that. See a hole in the tip of it? You can't see it when the carburetor's on there. Carburetor's on this side, you can't see the hole. I saw it a while ago because I had a mirror in there. Here it is, this little tiny mirror. I put that under it and I saw the hole. And they both come together right here through this tunnel right here. It's got these little plugs in from when they drilled it out, and I put some spray right in the center of that hole. I put it upside down and I sprayed in there until I saw a steady stream coming out of both sides evenly. And if that doesn't come out, then there is a screwdriver slot, so I believe this piece will come out of there. I'm not going to try though, but I think it could come out with a little miniature screwdriver, and then you might be able to clean that out if you have to do it that way. I just thought I'd better show that I found that too. I'm going to try to put this thing back together now. I got this left side mounted. The right side, I got these vacuum lines kind of situated over here a little bit, and I've got this accelerator pump deal here, or whatever that is. I don't even know. Maybe that's a choke. I don't know what that is, but I think that is the choke. I think this is the accelerator pump here that goes to that place I just sprayed at. But I gotta put this, I gotta get this rod, this crossover rod, into this one, and I got more of these washers than I knew about. One cotter pin I managed to save, but it is so tiny. I don't know. Man, that thing is tiny. I'm trying to think of what else have I got. Anyway, while I'm looking for something, that's what I got to do is get that assembled first, because that's underneath this bottom plate, and then I can put that on there. I'm not going to try to find the cotter pin that size, so I'm just going to use a piece of MIG wire. That's all I got that's going to be anything close. I got to nip that off. Here's another piece. I don't know what it is, but the side with the little end blocked off goes down, or I should say goes up, because the carburetors are upside down while I'm putting it back together, but that goes down in there. And I just cleaned this out and blew, or just sprayed the spray in it, and it didn't come out all that good at first, but then it started coming out better. So that might be something that was a little bit clogged up as well. And this, if I can get this thing in the right position here. There, it goes on like this. The hollow side goes up as far as the position I've got them in, which is upside down right now. And then the side's got that thing in it, goes down. I'm going to put that in that hole there. And now I'm ready to put this end in this hole here. Of course, it has O-rings on it. Had to check those and make sure they looked good. So I got that little piece of MIG wire tied on that little rod. I did not open up this thing. I don't know that I need to. Flipped it back over on the other side and put one of these plastic washers here. And this is going to use up the last of my washers that I didn't know where they came from. I'm just going to put them on like that. And I do have one more miniature cotter pin, or I did have. I don't know where it is now. I think I'm going to leave it off. And if I find it around here, I'm going to use it to try to find some new ones. Like that. I'll just put the MIG wire on this. It works good. Well, now let's see how my memory works, if I can get this thing back together. I think this one was on the bottom. I did take a picture of that, didn't I? Yeah, here's my picture. Yeah, the one with the T fitting on it's on the bottom. Well, it's actually on the top, but it's the bottom from my point of view. I don't know about this vacuum line. It's kind of broken inside there, isn't it? It's not leaking yet, but it does have a fracture inside the outer shell. I have to get more vacuum line, and that's a curved one too. That's going to be fun. Got another one on this side. It's got a little fracture on the inside too, right there in the corner. I don't know whether I can get away with cutting those off and putting them back on or not. Since it's right on the end, I can try it. It's not a matter of being cheap, it's a matter of not having availability. See, that was broken on the inside and just had not started leaking yet. That'll have to do. Now I'm going to do that over here too. Same vacuum line actually, it goes to the same place on this carburetor. Just a reminder, while I'm finding places on here to put vacuum lines, I'm also looking like this port right here that gets a vacuum line. I wasn't sure what went there, and so when I followed this around to the other carburetor, to the same place on the other carburetor, of course it's not going to be on the same side because they're set in here opposite of each other. So the opposite side of the carburetor is where I find a T-fitting that plugs into this vacuum line here, so I know this one, it's also long enough. So this one goes right in there. And it seems kind of familiar that I did have this underneath. I did have to pull this out from underneath this one here that was in tight to get it on there. So, I mean, to get it off of there a while ago. This is where the antifreeze goes through. So it's going to be on this side, I think. Yeah, this is the downside. Yeah, that's where the antifreeze goes, is through those things. I wonder why it's got to have that stupid thing on there. Why does it need antifreeze going through this? I guess, is that supposed to warm up the carburetors? I don't know. Anyway, they got it on there, so I gotta put it back. I just got lucky. This little bits of broken pieces here that we're going to go on here, that's for the carburetor drains. That's just a hose so that it's not draining out on the engine when you open these up to drain gasoline out for the winter. Well, since it's impossible to get to this without taking the whole freaking motorcycle apart, I don't need them. I don't need them. That's all that was a drain that goes to let the gas out so it doesn't fall on the motor, so it goes out underneath the motorcycle on the ground. So I'm free. I don't have to worry about those. So that's good. Okay, I believe this thing's ready to put back on, but I'm not ready to put it on because I've been standing here for, video's not that long, but I've been standing here a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours, 2 hours, I don't know. Here's that little tiny cotter pen. Look at the size of that thing. I gotta find something like that. I'm gonna try to save that. I don't know how I'm gonna save it. I'd put it on a piece of tape or something so I don't lose it. Alright, that'd be it for cleaning the carburetors as best as I can. Before I finish up this video, I want to say that that fellow that I watched him do his 1500 carburetors, his name is Clifford Rice. I'll I'll put a link up to his channel. He recommended to get a couple of these long-handled needle nose, one with the bent tip and the straight one. And I don't know what brand he had, but I went up to Harbor and got these for like, really with the 25% coupon on the New Year's Day, which was yesterday, was the last day for the coupon, but they have coupons all the time. These were like $6 or something like that for the pair, and they work. Of course, they're not high quality, but they work, and they got the job done. What I needed them for was to reach down and pull those antifreeze hoses up and hang on to them so that I can work that fitting on the bottom of the carburetor that goes into those. So I can work that. I'm starting to shake. My voice is shaking a little bit because I don't do good in the cold at all. And I just turned the furnace on in here. So anyway, yeah, those pliers really helped out a lot for reaching down and grabbing hoses and pulling them up high enough where I can get them on and work them on to where they got to go. So that was his recommendation. I went and got some. I got everything off with an old pair of pliers that I had, but I turned this, if you look at the tips, I ground those tips down because I needed this to actually get a snap ring out of inside of an outboard motor for the gears on the bottom end, and I needed to get inside there and fix something in there. And so this was the best thing I had, was to just because regular snap ring pliers were not long enough to reach down in there and get to that ring. So that's why the tips are ground off like that. But so I got a new set of pliers, and like $6 or $7 from Harbor, and so far so good. And you got to have them or something like that to deal with them hoses underneath there.